Welcome back to What Would It Cost? Today's episode, we're here with Jonathan Diaz. We're going to be talking about all things, your past, your career, and some of the things that has you now into your new ventures, and some other stuff on how you see a future for athletes. So it's super exciting.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I wanted to start with tell a little bit about yourself, your past, and how you got to where you are today.
Where do I start? Well, I'm originally from Miami, so not too far from here, Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Born and raised. Baseball has been my passion. So, this is how I got here to this seat, I believe. And from Coral Gables High, I was an undersized, player. And, I wouldn't say, like as a scout now, which is what I do professionally, I wouldn't say, I had much ceiling or much, potential. But I guess I was scrappy enough and hard-headed enough to continue to push my boundaries and push my limits. I ended up really wanting to go to Division I college. So one thing that happened that I think, coincidences in life, and this was one of them, somebody from NC State came down to Florida looking for a pitching coach, out of all things, and they asked him if he knew any infielders. He happened to know my mother, mentioned my name, asked me to take ground balls for him, and he said, listen, we don't have any scholarships, but if you want to take a chance and come to NC State and as an invited walk-on, then you're more than welcome. We'll love to have you. And that's kind of how my career took off in baseball. I ended up walking on and starting as a freshman.
Yeah, I love it. Nice. So it started already with your early struggles on just people telling you no and saying what couldn't work or what wouldn't fit the mold.
Yeah, exactly. Even in high school, I really wanted to play a certain position, and I was kind of smaller and didn't have a good enough arm. So I worked really hard on those things because I just really was hungry for it.
Yeah.
And then it just allowed me to continue to grow and get better. And I was going to college thinking, maybe I'll play, year one or year two, maybe hopefully year three. But I ended up starting as a freshman, which I think in this day and age in baseball, Division I is close to impossible to do because of all the recruiting and all the stuff that goes into it.
What's that gap from Division I to the pros?
Yeah, it was another step when I wasn't really. Obviously, I had the end goal. I was always hungry to be a professional baseball player, and I really wanted that. But I was also kind of realistic, so my goals were pretty incremental. I just wanted to go to Division I college, and then I just wanted to get drafted. And I didn't think I'd get drafted, because in baseball in the States, you can get drafted after your junior year of college or after you turn 21. Yeah. And I didn't think I thought I was going to be a senior sign, if they throw me $1,000. But I ended up, performing well enough or opening enough eyes that I got drafted in my junior year in the 12th round for the Toronto Blue Jays, which is another kind of coincidence is how we're sitting here and talking.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, how that all came about.
Yeah. And
then from Toronto, obviously for some, most people will know, but some people that don't follow your years in Toronto. From there, tell us a little bit more. Okay.
I think most people won't know. I was kind of like a flash in the pan. Yeah. Only got about 60 days in the big leagues. But one thing, I kind of downplay it. Pando, the guy who brought me and connected us all together. Yeah. Shout out to Pando. He actually gets mad at me because the humility, I was born that way. I don't like to seem like it was a big deal, but coming to terms with it and being a scout now, I realized that it was kind of a big deal getting to the major leagues. And I read an article one time that described that, crystallized it for me, where it was like, you can, like, let's say, Rogers Center, you couldn't fill half of the stadium with all of the major leaguers that have been in the history of baseball, and dating back 180 or so years. But I was like, wow, if you bring in the doctors and all that, you can fill it multiple times.
Yeah.
But it was a journey. Once I got drafted for the Blue Jays, I also I just wanted to get one level at a time, and there was some certain points where I really didn't think. I was kind of a bench player. I wasn't a really big prospect, so I I think those prospects were getting dim at a certain point. And like I said, there was actually one thing that really happened in my life that was really tough to overcome. Was I got in this big car accident when I was like really, really close to making it. It was like a real point in time in my career that I was doing really well in AAA. And I got in this kind of terrible car crash that kind of derailed my whole career. But I ended up overcoming that. And the following year, I ended up making it to the big leagues with the Boston Red Sox.
Nice. Yeah. And then obviously tell us a little bit about this. That again, you're already pointing to it that you have huge humility around it, but that year with Boston was huge.
Yeah.
2013.
Yeah. Again, I mean, I feel like a lot of what's happened in my life has been a combination of like blind ignorance, hard work, and a lot of luck and a lot of coincidences that have aligned. So I feel super blessed and super lucky. Leaving Toronto was very tough because that was the team that drafted me and the team that gave me all the opportunities to play professional baseball. So when you sign as a baseball player, they give you a 6 or 7 year contract, minor league contract.
Yep. I
played out that entire contract and I became a free agent, which most professional baseball players don't get to reach to that state and get re-signed by another team. So what happened was during free agency, Toronto did want me back. They did, but then I saw a better opportunity with the Boston Red Sox, who wanted to bring me on board. What made me make that decision was all the coaches that I was familiar with Toronto had just transitioned over to Boston. So they were familiar with me. I was in big league spring training camp. They knew what I was about. They knew my mindset. They knew, what type of player I was. So I was familiar with that. And of course, like I said, another super crazy coincidence, I ended up getting a big league call up that year. And that's because a lot of people had to be injured for me to kind of get that call. I was only there a week. And I got called back down. But that team, to 2013 Red Sox, end up being a really scrappy, I wouldn't say they were kind of picked to win the World Series that year, but they ended up being like a strong championship mindset team.
Yeah.
And that, crossed the finish line and ended the year with the win, which is in the World Series.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and so now I have a World Series ring because of it, but which is also like blows my mind. There's so many players in baseball, great players in baseball, that don't have one of those.
Yeah, it's huge. And I love what you mentioned towards, it's kind of like luck and preparation, how they all tend to meet, and hard work. And I love hearing that, me as an athlete background as well, and how much that comes together. Luck is usually on the winning side of those who are the winners. So I love hearing that. And, great to see how all came and grew from just even getting to Division 1 to then the next step. So very cool. And then I think from there, what was really cool, I think you then transitioned. How did that transition happen to the scout position that you're in right now?
So after the Red Sox, I actually came back to the Blue Jays for 2014 and 2015. And I ended up getting my first major league hit with the Blue Jays, which kind of comes back full circle. The team that drafted me, got my first hit with them. So played with them a little bit up and down, 2014 and 2015. And then I became a free agent again and ended up with the Yankees in 2016. So all those big names you see, like the Aaron Judges, Luis Severinos, all these like big guys for the Yankees now, we ended up winning a AAA championship the 2016 year. So I have a World Series ring, Major League Baseball ring, a AAA, a AA, and so it's kind of cool in that regard. But
it's huge how that came together. To have and experience it at different levels, and now having seen those guys blossom as well, and having shared those experiences. And that's a huge thing that I like to talk about too. Is I was in 2015 when I was with the Jays. That was my last time with the big leagues, but I was able to experience when they won the AL East. So I've been a part of like amazing teams, and the dedication that some of these top-notch, high-caliber, premium players, their mindsets, their routines, the way they go about their business, the way the team meshes together, which is kind of what I appreciate. It is what I appreciate about Spark. The way from leadership down to
how the way everybody, the team communicates, how everybody has their specializations, and how it all blends in together. I've been kind of floored because this is my first time venturing outside of baseball. And one of my passions is, team building and psychology and communication. And I see all of that work here, in synergy. And it's fun to witness. It's fun to be a part of as a brand partner. And that's why I kind of came on board, because being in your office, being in the atmosphere, you can really see the energy, the work ethic, the fundamentals that you guys put in place. And it's an easy company to promote because of all those different things.
Yeah. The question that the viewers are probably out there wondering, what do major baseball players make?
Good question. And it varies. So it depends, right now, I believe the minimum salary for a major leaguer that plays the entire season is roughly, I think, around, the high 500s, low 600s. But you got to understand, a lot of players go up and down. So that is only prorated for the amount of time you're there. And then the bigger contracts, like an Aaron Judge, for example, that just signed, in the vicinity of mid $300 million contract, those are the top tier contracts in baseball. And that's what everybody sees, and that's what comes down to the news. But there's also the minor league side, where I spent most of my career in, which I think after 7 years of playing in the minor leagues, I made roughly $12,000 for the entire year. So, I was living with my in-laws and stuff. And it brings me to Spark because, I think we all have the understanding of, there's been a few documentaries that athletes only have a short lifespan in the game. Yeah. And sometimes even if they're big hitters, even if they're making, that upper echelon type money, they still, after post-playing careers, maintain that lifestyle and whatnot. And they find themselves, strapped for cash, not too long after their careers have ended. So I think a key piece that's missing in the athletic culture is the understanding of how money works, how to use their money, how to invest, how taxes, how to open a business, like all these different type of questions that I'm 37 years old. I am just recently starting to get accustomed to and starting to expand my horizons. So that's one big passion I have. I was talking to Nick this morning about, I'd love to set up kind of a financial literacy type of course or something where I can go around and, help people understand or help players understand, like, here's what's going on. Here's the norm for a professional athlete, because it happens in all sports. Maybe we can expand later on to different kinds of sports, but it's extremely important, money. And the crazy part is, I didn't understand money growing up. I thought it was, it kind of had a bad connotation to me, rich people and stuff like that. But it's fuel for your engine. It's fuel for your family. It's how you can manage your life. And so I've listened to finance podcasts, just decision makings and of how to allocate funds and all that stuff. So I'm still really new at it, and that's why I'm excited to learn a lot more. But I think Spark does an excellent job of helping people navigate those kind of stormy waters.
Yeah, very cool. And I think it goes back, and we've talked about it, of like the Allen Iverson stories. So much money and it's short-sighted. Essentially, you're looking at a career for someone, let's say 20 to maybe 35 in most sports. So you got about 15 year window if you have no injuries.
Exactly.
Money can come and go real fast. So really cool to hear that. I mean, essentially what I'm hearing back now is that this was out there, and that you mentioned Pando, that you guys met and how that came together.
He was actually sitting in my seat, so when I got to the stadium, he was sitting in my seat. I just kind of let him. I sat behind him, and then you know how he is. He was like, "Oh, this is your seat. Why didn't you tell me? You're a good guy." And that's how he connected me, with you guys, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it's amazing. No, it's a great story to hear, and as well, you know, that void, we talked about it, is that community can definitely, you know, you can service that, and there's a need for that for athletes out there, and not just for athletes. I think that comes back to even people that are working hard now and or making lots of money and perhaps not keeping it in-house, that, you know, we focus on with Spark 2 and with our message that, you know, that hard-earned money can work a lot harder for you. Absolutely. Especially when you're taking a nap or sleeping.
Exactly. I just saw a cool reel the other day. It was Money Mayweather, Floyd Mayweather, talking about, he's like, people see the bling, people see the cash and all this stuff going on, but I was investing heavily in real estate. He says he owns like, I don't know, 16 buildings in New York. So he was giving people, you know, people he trusted, the money on the side to invest it properly, and that's why he's able to, you know, show off all the stuff that he has. It wasn't that he was just spending it, you know, willingly. So he was doing smart things on the back end.
Yeah, and I think it's a great example. I mean, he makes huge money on his fights, but that money is compounding for him big time on the back end, and having a great team for it as well. And I think that's super important, because you've also heard horror story with some players, you know, having the wrong team on their side.
Exactly.
But I think, like I said, to come back to what you said earlier, like, you know, that grittiness and getting and putting the hard work in and luck meeting at the same time, it's not a coincidence. So very cool, man. I love it.
I love it too. Appreciate you having me.
All right, Jonathan, thank you so much for being here today. We got beautiful weather. It was amazing to have you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me, and I'm extremely excited to be part of this Spark team.
And thank you for watching and tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to your preferred audio platform. See you next time.